Hi everyone, we're just going to wait a few more minutes just for some more people to sign in, so we will be getting started fairly shortly.
We're just going to give it another minute, just wait for the last few people and then we'll get going.
Okay, good afternoon, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule. I'd like to start today's webinar with some introductions. So let's start with who is OrbitalNet. We are a national internet and telecoms provider with our head office in the southeast. We specialise in helping key sectors like the healthcare improve their operations. Orbital recently partnered with Care England as an approved internet and telecoms advisor. Today's webinar is to help you understand the changes that will be coming in so you can prepare for the big connectivity switchover. My name is Ian. I'm a customer success manager at Orbital. I've also worked in the care industry and I have a great understanding of the daily struggles you face. Joining me today is Kimberly Bray, also a customer success manager, our head of engineering, James Tonkin, and our group technical director, Brian Ross. Our objective is to provide you with information to make your lives easier and to avoid any headaches you could face in the near future. You may have heard about the big switchover or acronyms like PSTN and ISDN, which can be confusing. Today we want to explain what these are so you can make an informed decision ahead of the proposed changes. So today we will be covering what the switchover is and why it's happening, the timeline of events and where we are currently, implications to you if you do not change, the connectivity that is replacing older, outdated solutions, how digital phones work, the advantages of digital phones, the internet options that are available, the advantages of fiber connectivity. To round up, we'll talk a little bit about Orbital and how we can help you, and there'll be a Q&A session at the end. So let's get started. What is the switchover and why is it happening? Let's take a step back to the 1800s. The telephone was invented, connecting you from one person to another via a copper wire. This was a manual task carried out by a switchboard operator. This process is known as PSTN, or Public Switch Telephone Network. You don't need to remember the term PSTN, you just need to know that they are the copper wires that are connected manually by the switchboard operator. As said, this is a very manual task. With changes in technology and the digital revolution, computers meant this manual process could become automated, and the ISDN, or Integrated Service Digital Network, was launched. Moving further into the future, around the year 2000, mobile phones became popular. A lot of businesses were no longer using their traditional landline as much. Businesses started using their internet connection for their telecoms instead of traditional systems because it has many enhanced features that a traditional copper line cannot offer. So BT decided to discontinue the traditional service that we have become familiar with in favour of a more digitalised approach. So in 2015, BT announced they were going to stop all analog phone systems. We received a notification that we were no longer allowed to sell these products to you. Openreach also announced the full fibre FTTP rollout to future-proof connectivity as we move to digitalised solutions that require faster and more reliable connectivity. The initial time frame wasn't realistic for FTTP to be in every home and business. A new solution called SOGEA, which stands for Single Order Generic Ethernet Access, was launched. This is a replacement for a service you might be familiar with called FTTC, or Fibre to the Cabinet. This was introduced whilst we wait for full fibre to be rolled out. So SOGEA allows the internet portion of your phone line to be used without the copper portion traditionally used for making phone calls. The next event in the timeline was the 5-year reminder that BT would be removing the copper connectivity. This is where things started to escalate. In 2021, we received the official stop sale announcement, so we could no longer sell analog-based phone products. There was a need to migrate 15 million channels over to a digitalized system by 2025. That's where we are now on the timeline, and we are still not quite there. There is still millions to migrate to a digital platform. So BT has extended this deadline to 2027 for the most extreme and vulnerable cases. So if you choose to migrate your analog services at the last minute, there are some risks. You could risk losing your phone system altogether. You need to switch to a digital platform whilst your analog system is still live. If you want to keep your existing phone number, this will need to be ported to a new system before the switchover is enforced. Any services using a traditional landline will be affected. This includes door entry systems, lift alarms, Epos machines, CCTV, fax machines, and fire alarms. So all of these services need a new digital solution. With the increase for demand passing across the internet, you will likely need to upgrade your internet connection so that your assistive technology, your phone calls and alarms are not affected by poor bandwidth. You should also consider how you will make sure there is enough Wi-Fi coverage across the property. Other implications to consider with many businesses choosing to leave moving their service to the last minute, you're risking shortages of engineers being available. If there is a fault, it might take a long time to fix. With higher demand, there could also be shortages of VoIP handsets. You might end up with one you don't want or that doesn't meet your requirements. With a higher demand on services, lead times will go up as everyone will be scrambling, trying to switch over at the same time. It's better to switch sooner and avoid any potential issues. So what's it all going to be moving to? It's called VoIP, which stands for Voice over Internet Protocol, which basically means you're going to have an internet phone and you're going to plug that directly either into your router or via a switch. There are a lot of different options available at the moment. Corded desk phones for basic use, cordless handsets allow you the freedom to move around, and conference phones for more advanced use. In some cases, a business may not require a handset. You could opt for a soft phone application that runs through your PC, mobile phone or tablet. Some VoIP solutions offer enhanced features like call recording, reporting and transferring calls, especially useful if you have multiple departments or sites. We use 3CX here at Orbital, allowing us to be contactable whilst we are out of the office. You will notice a picture of a battery pack that's just appeared on the screen here. The internet does require a power source to be able to function. Your new phone system will require an internet connection. So what if there's a power failure? You can use a battery failover, which will kick in the event of a power failure, so you can still make calls even if everything else has gone down. The nature of care work means that staff are often moving around, engaging with residents, meeting with healthcare providers and other partner organisations, or visiting people's homes. With IP technology, they can take calls on their desktop, handset or mobiles. They can also use advanced call handling features such as instant messaging to deal effectively with contacts when they are not available to take the call. As well as working more efficiently and collaborating more productively with colleagues, they can also deliver higher levels of care to residents. For example, they can be equipped with internet-enabled tablets, loaded with apps which link directly to GPs for ordering repeat prescriptions or reporting key health information. The pandemic also highlighted the importance of residents and patients being able to make video calls to their families when a face-to-face visit isn't possible. Fibre-based IP technology can deliver the bandwidth you need for all your residents to use any devices, such as smartphones, tablets and PCs, at the same time with much less risk of experiencing buffering or loss of service. VoIP also makes safeguarding vulnerable residents easier. Built-in call filtering means you can blacklist and block unwanted calls from the likes of telemarketers and fraudsters, whilst whitelisting the phone numbers of key contacts such as residents' family. So at this stage, I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Kim, who's going to talk you through the connectivity options that are available and how they work. So Kim, I'm handing over to you.
Thank you, Ian. Hi, everybody. Thanks again for joining us today. So understanding the internet and how it works its magic is really important. You know, it's something that we all take for granted, but it's so vital to all of our lives in so many aspects. So this diagram here shows life before fibre came along, where the copper lines carried our data. So it all starts at the local telephone exchange, and these telephone exchanges act as like sophisticated traffic controllers, where the digital data is converted into signals that's then sent through the cabling to its destination. So the data moves from the exchange to the green cabinets that you would have all seen dotted around the streets, and then from here it's sent out through further copper wires to your business or home. So these copper lines rely on electronic signals, which do slow down over long distances, resulting in much slower speeds by the time the endpoint is reached, which means that very often in these modern times it just isn't good enough. So then fibre to the cabinet, which is known as FTTC, began rolling out in 2009. So this meant removing all of the previous copper lines that were originally running from the exchange to the cabinet and replacing them with fibre optic cables. So information can travel much faster through fibre optic cables, so this improves services to the cabinet significantly. However, those restrictive copper lines were still in place from the cabinet to the final destination. Openreach began rolling out fibre to the premises, which is known as FTTP, in the 2010s. So this meant replacing the copper wires that still connected the cabinet to properties with the same fibre optic cables. Speeds in these cables can travel around 40 times faster because of the use of light to transmit the data instead of the electronic signals used in the copper wires. So now this is still being rolled out nationwide, but BT expects by 80% of homes and businesses across the UK will have fibre to the property by the end of 2025. So in the planning of new build care homes and care facilities, fibre connectivity infrastructure will now be a standard part of the specification. So therefore it is essential to make provisions for a robust, cost-effective IP solution to provide your telephone, broadband and all other services. So now we understand how the internet makes its way to us. It's important to understand the different types of internet connections available to you. So they all have very unique features and various degrees of capabilities. So there are four main types in total. Firstly, we have a lease line. This is your own completely private connection. It's like having your own private motorway, gets you to the destination as quick as possible, no interfering traffic. This means there'll be symmetrical upload and download speeds, there's no lagging, no drops in speeds, and more than enough bandwidth to cater for everyone's requirements. After that, we have FTTP, which is delivered by those fibre optic cables I just mentioned previously. This is a shared connection, which does mean there's some contention at busy times, and this can slow speeds slightly, just like driving on any regular motorway would. But the speeds can still be very, very fast and are the next best option after a lease sign. We then have SGEA. This has now superseded fibre to the cabinet or FTTC. This is those old copper lines that have not yet been replaced by the fibre optics. These speeds aren't great for the times, but everyone should have moved away from these over the next year or two. If you do still have these into your property, don't panic. There's various things that we can do to help you improve those speeds whilst you wait for fibre to be installed. And then last but certainly not least is wireless fibre. So this uses wireless technologies such as radio or satellite to transmit your data. This is ideal for rural areas or buildings with poor infrastructure. This is actually one of our unique selling points here at Orbital, because we have built our own wireless technology, and that's available largely across Kent and is beginning to roll out nationally, and it's not something that all other providers can offer you. So as you can see here, there's many advantages to having a faster internet connection. A lot of them are no-brainers. In these modern times, the use of technology is ever growing. In almost every occasion, this now requires an internet connection, which means a business reliance on higher speeds is always becoming greater. So I won't go through each and every point, but the main things to take away is that it will allow for an all-round smoother operation, especially as we see VoIP installed and more technology implemented throughout. So in order to get yourselves ready for the 2027 switchover, we'd recommend you do the following. So you should conduct an audit of your existing systems to work out those that are still reliant on analogue lines. You should also work with your IT and telecoms providers to improve and upgrade your systems. You should train your staff and residents how to use this new technology. You should invest in reliable and high-speed internet to support this technology. And you should also create a contingency plan to prepare how to maintain your current operations in case there is any failures. So just a bit more about us here at Orbital. Ian mentioned earlier we have our head office based in the southeast, but we do have national and international coverage. We've been going for 27 years, so we've been around for a long time. And the way that we can help you is that we can actually offer you free assistance, not just in terms of this webinar. We are able to have a one-to-one session with you. We can get to understand your setup. We can give you a free audit and internet health check, and obviously some advice on the back of that. So it is actually our vision statement to be the top customer focused service internet service provider in the UK, and I do think personally that we're there already. So thank you for listening. We have been sending some questions from people in the care sector. So I'd like to pass over to James Tonkin, our head of engineering, and Brian Ross, our group technical director, who are both just very slightly more techie than me, and we'll be answering these for you. After that, we'll open the floor to any of your questions.
Thank you, Kim and Ian. That was very educational. So what is a digital switchover and how will it impact you? Well, hopefully we've already gone over this throughout the webinar, so this should be clear. Other questions to consider. Do I need to tell my workforce or residents? The switchover should be simple with a seamless transition. If you're changing your number, then yes. If you believe there may be a delay in migrating your service, then you will need to confirm this with your ISP. I have fibre broadband installed. Will it still be impacted by the switchover? Yes. You will need to upgrade to digital phones if you haven't already. What will happen to my analog dedicated red phone? Any analog phones will need to be upgraded to a digital phone. We advise arranging this ASAP to avoid any risk or loss of service. If everything is going digital and there is a power cut, will I be unable to reach emergency services? So, unlike some traditional corded analog phones, a digital phone will only work in a power cut if it has a battery pack. We advise having a battery pack with a backup or a mobile phone on site. So, talk to your provider about your options. Will there be an increase in cost of digital infrastructure? Well, no, there shouldn't be, as the infrastructure should be in place. If you upgrade to a fibre line, the cost may be higher, but your digital phone system should save you money. Will the switch off increase the risk of cybersecurity threats? No. There shouldn't be, as your current protection will still be in place. If you would like to check that your current virus protection is sufficient, please contact your ISP. So, do we have any questions? Please raise your hand. Hello, could you unmute? I've got your hand up there.
Hi, what will happen to care homes in areas that have poor broadband?
So on that question, I'd advise you to speak to your current ISP and see what they can offer with an increased speed. If you want to know more information, please speak to me after, and I could see how we can assist or what we can offer you.
Thank
So
you.
that's answered that. Any more questions? Oh yeah. Do you want to unmute? Yep, lovely.
Sorry. I'm just wondering, do I have to replace all of the handsets, or can some still work? I'm not sure if you covered it. I'm just
So
if
actually,
you could clarify that, please.
That's a very, very good question. So simple answer to your question, no, you shouldn't have to. Most handsets are compatible, or you can buy adapters to make them work. But what I would advise, if you're unsure, if you're looking at switching over to VoIP systems, you would get a lot more additional features. So I think, we could assist with that, maybe look at doing a free on-site audit if you require some more support.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Any more questions? Well, no more questions. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Ian.
Lovely, thanks, James. So just to finish up, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. If you have any questions, our contact details are on the screen in front of you. We're going to leave this up for a few minutes so you can take note of them. The recording will also be available, or you can visit us at orbital.net. So again, thank you for joining us. We hope it's been of value, and any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.